If you're looking for a new job and you need to get the attention of the hiring manager, well, it's a good thing we've got the hiring manager on the show today, because today we're going to ask a senior VP of HR all the questions that you want to know about how to get what you're worth when you're doing a negotiation and how to get all the money and the benefits that you need. Because I don't know about you, it's one thing to get the interview, it's another thing to sit down and get what you're worth. And that takes a quality negotiation. So we're welcoming in Ann Knutson, Senior Vice President of HR for Bank 59 in Oconomowoc, Wisconsin, to today's show to answer your questions and help you get every dime you deserve in your next job negotiation. Welcome to the interview presented by New Horizons Computer Learning Center of Wisconsin. I'm your host, Pat Miller, the Idea Coach. Now, this session is a one-on-one interview and Q&A with someone that really knows what she's talking about. I mean, Ann teaches negotiation on the college level. So if you really want to get your questions answered, get active inside the chat and we will get your questions on the air. Now, if you're serious about getting a new gig, don't forget the thousands of training courses New Horizons can offer you to up-level your skills. From an intro to computers to classes you can take right on your mobile device, New Horizons has immersive training that will help you get ahead. From everything from cybersecurity to cloud computing to much more, New Horizons is making computer training simple and fun so you can get a job to help you get ahead. Learn more at newhorizonswy.com. The show is also sponsored by Forward Careers. If you're looking to launch a new career or change careers but don't know where to start, maybe you lost your job due to COVID or your company closed and you want to know what jobs are out there that meet your financial needs. Well, Forward Careers can help. Check out Forward Careers, the preferred source for career exploration, education, and skill training and employment connections for every person and business. Forward Careers is a team of workforce professionals that specialize in providing high-quality, effective, and accessible career services to individuals seeking to improve their employment potential in demand-driven and high-growth professions. To learn more, visit them online at forwardcareers.org. Funding is provided by the Department of Labor, Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, H-1B Tech Hire Grant, Department of Corrections Windows to Work, and Children and Families Independent Living. So with all of that behind us, let's bring on the brains of the operation. Welcome into the show, Ann Knutson, HR Director and Senior VP of Bank 59 in Oconomowoc, Wisconsin. Ann, it's great to see you. How was Memorial Day weekend? Did you have a nice time?
Well, first and foremost, it's great to see you, Pat, and it was a wonderful weekend filled with a lot of activities, and the weather certainly helped promote being outside and doing a lot of things that we haven't been able to do for a long time. So it was fabulous. How about for you? How was your weekend?
It was great. It was some time to relax, went out and hit a few golf balls. I got the blisters to prove it. It was nice, but now we're kind of like jump-starting our brain back into work mode. And for the folks that are watching the interview, we're talking about folks that are looking to get a better job or get back into the workforce. And today, I'm excited to have you on because it's one of the stickiest parts of the job seeker experience, which is getting through that negotiation and getting a deal that you think is fair. So before we go any further, you're legit in this particular area. Tell us about your interest in negotiation and how you teach people about it every day.
Sure. Well, my skill set really was formally developed, I would say, post-college. And I worked in claims environments. So I was negotiating multi-million-dollar claims with insureds, claimants, attorneys. But I really was really interested in negotiations starting at a much younger age. When I was 7, 8 years old, I would negotiate with my siblings for a variety of things, bargaining back and forth. So I started that skill set pretty early on. But then moving into more of my career past the claim stage, when I began working in the field of human resources, I came to quickly realize that HR involves far more negotiations than what anyone would possibly imagine, whether it be working with individuals that we're hiring. So we're going to be talking more specifically about that today, but also quite a bit with contract negotiations, getting really involved with that. And I really think my passion developed even further once I recognized how many of the skill sets I was using on a day-to-day basis, that about 6 years ago, I began formally teaching on the topic at Waukesha County Technical College, and had a 6-week course dedicated just to negotiations and improving that skill set. So it's been an interesting evolution for me, acquiring and building the skill sets that I have and still learning today.
Well, and it's something we could always learn to get better at through practice or from studying from someone like you. And this show in the last few months has been talking about how to get the attention of hiring managers and how to get your resume all spruced up and how to find the right people to hire you. But today we're fast forwarding through all of that stuff. We're all the way to the finish line and we're getting ready to say the number and to do the negotiation, which freaks a lot of people out, including me. So, just starting there, how would you coach a job seeker when they're getting ready to enter a negotiation with a potential employer?
So the biggest piece to keep in mind, Pat, is the fact that before you enter into a negotiation, you have to plan for that negotiation. And I think that's vitally important, particularly for those who are interested in starting a new job opportunity. And one of the ways that I strongly encourage individuals to prepare for the negotiation is finding out, what is your value? What are you worth? And so the question becomes, I don't know. How do I know what I'm worth? Well, there are so many different online resources. Salary.com is one that I highly recommend individuals who are trying to get a sense of not just what my value is, but what are people paid to do the work that I would be doing in a particular region, in a particular community, and getting a strong sense of what that value is before even entering into a negotiation. That's a really critical component. And then from there, it really becomes a matter of, now that you have a sense of what people are getting paid, what should I be paid and what do I need to be paid? And we can talk a little bit more about that as well.
But let's acknowledge, if someone's out of work, especially if it's been a minute, you can go online and see that people are being paid X, but in your head, you might be beaten down a little bit emotionally. Any idea on how we can really get ourselves revved up to ask what we really want rather than coming from a position of weakness?
You know, that's such a good question. And I think it does have to come internally in building that level of confidence. And that confidence really should be established just by recognizing what are others who are in similar situations as myself getting paid. I've seen both ends of the spectrum. I've seen individuals way undervalue what it is that they bring to the table. On the flip side of that, Pat, I see people who way overvalue themselves. Maybe they haven't been working for quite some time, or they don't have all of the preferred skills for the job and feel as though they should be paid where someone has been working for maybe 5 or 6 years in that position. But I think it's really all about just recognizing that no one is going to look out for yourself the way that you do. And you have to keep that in mind in life in general. No one else is going to look out for you the way that you do on your own behalf. You have to be your own best advocate. And
Which
it is
that can be hard to do. I'm sorry to interrupt. That can be hard to do when you're coming at it from, I'm unemployed and I need a job. So let me ask you this. As senior VP of HR, teaching negotiation for a living, and I know that it's different case by case, but in general, how much of your compensation do you think you can win if you do a good job negotiating? Is this a 5% difference? Or if you're really good at it, you can get much more than that? What does your experience tell you about how important this negotiation can be?
You know, generally speaking, Pat, I would say there is, if we look strictly at base pay, there might be a difference of maybe 5 to 10% that if you present a really solid case about why it is that you should be earning more, and there's going to be some other strategies you put into place talking about other job offers or other companies you're interested in pursuing, that can make the person who is extending the offer a little bit anxious because they want to hire you. That's why they're extending the job offer to you. It's really the other perks that I would label them that really have the ability to be negotiated much more than I would say a base compensation. So it could include things, for example, like a hiring bonus. It could include extra vacation. It could include maybe having the ability to have a flexible working schedule. So all of these things, people don't necessarily think about that. Is there monetary value? I mean, absolutely. You can monetize about anything. So you have to think about what's important to you to know what it is specifically you're going to negotiate above and beyond that base salary.
And that's great. So let's get into it almost workshop style. Let's pretend that I'm the job seeker just so we have someone to work with.
Okay.
How would you coach me to plan out the negotiation and to enter the process? Because you brought up some great stuff, but let's make it as actionable as possible for the folks that are watching.
Okay. So Pat, the first thing that you're going to do, let's say you're applying for a customer service representative position here at Bank 59. So in other words, it's a bank teller position. You've gone online, you see that the average bank teller makes approximately $12.50 an hour. Okay, great. So you have that in your mind. You also know that right now unemployment is rather low, and that means you're going to have options. Always keep that in mind. When there are a number of opportunities, you're going to have that many more options, which puts you in the driver's seat with negotiation. So Pat, one of the things when you're talking to me, the first thing I'm going to do is, hey, Pat, you know what, you really impressed us. We're so excited at the prospect of you joining our organization. We are going to be extending an offer for $12 an hour. We're going to offer all the benefits that we've talked about. What do you think? So at that point in time, here's the really most important thing that Pat needs to do. Pat needs to say, oh my gosh, Ann, I am thrilled. Thank you so much for the job offer, because I too feel like this is going to be a great fit for me. I loved what I heard about your culture and the fact that you give back to the communities the way that you do. So you always want to start on a really, really positive note, and it's about building a relationship. I could go on and talking about that through negotiations, but in order to have a successful negotiation and something that you need to work through relatively quickly, you want to make sure that that person sees you favorably. And then at that point in time to say, you know, Ann, here's the stumbling block that I have. The stumbling block is that I was really, I did all the math. I found out what others are offering in terms of this area. I'm really hoping to earn $13 an hour. So remember, Pat was looking for $12.50. But if you go a little bit higher, most people are going to expect to be able to do a little bit of back and forth. If you go right to $12.50, a lot of people who don't know negotiations are going to say, let's compromise. We're going to split the difference, and now I'm going to offer Pat $12.25. So you want to put yourself in a little stronger position to be able to work through that negotiation. Here's the next important thing. After Pat says, I really, based on the research that I've done and what I know others are paying, again, I really want to work at Bank 59, $13 an hour. Pat's going to be quiet, not say anything at that point in time until the HR person or whoever he's working with, the hiring manager, makes the next move. And that's really, really important, because you don't want to end up negotiating against yourself. Pat would say, oh, well, maybe $12.75 would be okay. So silence can be really uncomfortable for people, and that's a good thing if you can master it. Just get comfortable with being uncomfortable with the silence, getting a sense of what it is that that person is going to do in terms of the next move. Do they need time? Do they need to talk to someone else? Maybe they're going to flat out say, we absolutely can't do that. And then we can get into what else then you can negotiate.
So let me make sure I'm hearing you correctly. If we're down to the numbers and you say $12 an hour, I show positivity. Boy, I can't wait to work at Bank 59. It's going to be fantastic.
Yes.
Here's my stumbling block. I'm thinking 13 after doing all the research. That's what I'm going to need. And then don't say anything. Is that what you're saying? Just zip it.
Absolutely. Zip it. Absolutely. And waiting for that. Now, again, most hiring professionals are going to know now they have to say something. Are they going to be able to offer that? Do they need to meet you in the middle? Do they need to take it back to someone else, maybe the hiring manager, to see, is there some flexibility with that? So one of three things is going to happen. That person's going to say, great, no problem. We really want you, Pat, $13 an hour it is. Win. Don't look back and go, oh, I wish I should have asked for more. I mean, they were that easy. No, right. Think of it this way. They wanted you that badly, and you already did your research, so you know your value. The second thing that they could do is to say, well, you know what? Here's what I can do. I can't go that high because we don't start any new hires at that point, but I can offer you $12.50 an hour. Plus, I think we can talk a little bit about a hiring bonus. Or the third thing that they can do is say, we just can't. We can't go there.
Mm-hmm.
So in the situation where someone says we absolutely can't go there, then to say, is there anything else? Do you have flexibility with anything else with your offerings? And then be quiet. Don't plant the seed in their brain. Say, well, can you give me an extra day of PTO? Because maybe in their minds, they're thinking, we're going to give Pat a $2,000 hiring bonus to make up for what we can't do in the annualized salary. So don't plant that seed. See what they have to offer. See what it is that they're going to come back with. If they say they need a little bit of time, let them take the time. Let them take a day or two to come back to you, because that means they want you and they're going to try to figure something out to make it work.
One way I've always thought about negotiating, and you tell me if this is good or not, and if it's not good, I hope you will correct me, but it sounds like negotiating is like a game of tennis. And you want to keep on hitting the decision ball back into their court with a smile. Boy, I can't wait to do the thing. What do you think? And hit it back to them. And then they hit it back to you. And you know what? Is there anything else you can do? Like, you're being as positive as you can, but you're keeping the decisions on their side of the court because they may decide in your favor. Is that the wrong way to think about it? I know that's messed up, but that's the way I kind of picture it in my mind when you're saying, is there anything else that you can do? And then be quiet and wait for them to serve it back to you. Is that weird, or does that make sense?
Here's the reality. I'm going to use that analogy moving forward, Pat, because I think it's the perfect analogy.
Show over. We're done. We're good. Close it. Thank you.
Light, we're off. Exactly. It's a great way of thinking of it, just to make sure that you don't want to completely close a deal, if you will, and say, great, we can move on. And again, if you're polite, if you're respectful, if you're positive, maybe you get through that negotiation piece for the salary, but now it comes time towards vacation or PTO. And then there are phrases that you can use that really put you in a position where someone's like, they're not being greedy, such as, at the risk of sounding ungrateful, I'm hoping that perhaps we can revisit the amount of time off that we have. Or I am in a situation right now where I have some kids at home and I need to be able to leave work 2 days a week at 3:45 instead of 4 o'clock. I envision that will change down the road, but for right now. So it's just, again, just always being grateful at the risk of sounding maybe being greedy or ungrateful. I'm really not, because I'm so happy with what we have. But, here's something else that I'm thinking about. See what it is that they can do.
Yeah.
And again, putting it back in their court. And they might shut you down completely and say, that's the best that we can do. And if it's what you wanted, you say, thank you so much. I am so excited. I would love to accept this opportunity.
So what's great about today's show is that I think the folks that are watching will make money if they learn from you and use these tactics next time they're doing an interview. The other thing is we're getting some great questions coming in the chat, and I really want this show to be useful to you if you're watching it. So we've got a question from Carla and from Kathy and one from Brian. So let's do a couple of questions here, and then we'll jump back into the other stuff we wanted to talk about. Brian wanted to know, would negotiating a salary as a job seeker deter a company from hiring someone compared to someone who doesn't negotiate a salary? Am I penalizing myself by pushing back? I think is what he's asking.
Honestly, today, I think any experienced HR professional or hiring manager is going to expect some degree of negotiation. And if there is a company that's turned off by the fact that you've been positive, you've been appreciative, and then you're asking, what can we do with this? And that company then says, I don't want anything to do with you. You probably don't want to work there anyway. They're not open, right? I mean, if they're not willing to at least address the question or talk to you further about it. The other piece to keep in mind, and to Brian, is that if that organization is reaching out to you, they want you. They're going to try to make it work with you before they go on to the next candidate. And the reality is the next candidate is probably going to be negotiating, and the candidate after that, and asking more and more questions. In fact, today, if someone doesn't ask for something, it's almost a little odd or a little bit unusual to go, wow, that person didn't ask for a little bit more. I don't quite understand.
Yeah.
Now, there are companies like Bank 59 where many times we will pay more than what the candidate is asking for because we know their value. So we're not looking to see what we can get away with. And there are a lot of companies that are like that. They're going to say, I'm going to pay your value. So when someone wants to negotiate salary with me, I'm going to say, unfortunately, this is how we determined it. We're paying you even more than what you originally indicated in your application. But let's talk a little bit more. What are some other things that are important to you, just to keep that dialogue going and not shutting them down? Because I don't want someone to be turned off by saying, I can't negotiate salary. What are some other things that are important to you?
And can we make that laundry list real quick? Other things that you either have negotiated on other than salary, or we could ask to have negotiated on? Because I want to make sure that we have to get 3 or 4 other things that we could use as negotiating tools.
For sure. Big one, probably biggest one, cash is king. So I would talk about hiring bonus and to say, I can start 2 weeks out. I can start in 2 days, just to get things started for me, making ends meet. Can we entertain a hiring bonus? Can you offer that to me? The second thing would be extra vacation time. Now, again, there are some companies that are really strict with their vacation allocations. We are at Bank 59 because we want there to be consistency with employees. But there are some organizations that will say, absolutely, what can we entertain with that? A third one would be flexibility with the work schedule. So maybe it's, can I do this full-time position in 4.5 days and have a half day off every Friday or a half day off during the week? Benefits are not as easy to negotiate simply because most benefits are driven based on contracts and plans with the provider. So if someone would indicate, well, I need a different deductible, or I want to start my benefits sooner. Unfortunately, there are contractual obligations a company has with the benefits provider, and there's usually not as much flexibility with that.
That's great stuff. And thank you for that. And remote work could also be something you could ask for?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think more than ever, that is something to definitely consider. Be careful what you're asking for because you just may get it. So if an organization says, sure, you can work remotely, and then all of a sudden now you're at home 5 days a week and feeling like, I don't feel the connection. I've lost the ability for the social component at work. So carefully think through that before you ask for it.
We've got so many great questions in the chat. I want to get to them. And if you have a question for Ann, who literally teaches negotiation, get it into the chat and we'll get it to her. So Carla's been waiting patiently. Carla, thank you for hanging on. How do you overcome the age issue? She is 61 and she finds it more difficult to negotiate her worth. How would you coach her on that?
Oh my gosh, Carla, you're young, 61. I like to think when I get to that point, which is not too far in the future, is that with age comes wisdom and experience, and I think a lot of stability. And obviously, if an employer is asking you how old you are, that's an illegal question. They shouldn't be asking us. Where I'm far enough away, you can't see all the wrinkles, but you get up close, you can see, well, Ann is definitely not in her 40s any longer. She's getting a bit older. And I think you need to leverage that skill set, the experience that you have, the wisdom, the fact that you don't get emotionally charged. Oftentimes employers are looking for someone who can be excellent in working in teams and groups, and you don't get caught up in the drama. I don't mean to certainly focus just on the younger generation to say they can be more dramatic and emotional, but you want to highlight the things, what you can bring to the table that oftentimes younger individuals cannot. But with age and experience should come then a higher salary based on what it is that you bring to the table. So don't discount yourself or think, well, I'm getting too old. I plan on working well into my 70s if I can, and hopefully I can share with them why I would be the best person for that job, regardless of my age.
Question from Kathy. It's similar in nature and not necessarily about negotiation, but definitely would want your expertise on this. Kathy asks, what about retirees that wish to get back into the job market? What would you say to someone doing that right now?
Oh my gosh, we love retirees who want to get back into the job market. Many employers do. And I would say if you are a retiree, one of the things that you may be interested in considering is a part-time position. So looking for those organizations that offer that type of flexibility to be able to maybe fill in the gaps where others may traditionally not want to work. Maybe it's if you're working at a retail organization. So maybe it's a Friday evening and Saturday and Sunday. Great. That's something that you can leverage to say, I can work these hours in the schedule. Or maybe it's just one of those things. Again, I caution everyone to think very carefully what it is that they're willing to offer. If you go overboard and say, well, I can work every single weekend, or I can take less pay, or I can do these things, and I don't care about all the menial tasks. Once you get into the workforce, you see, well, not everybody's doing that, but that's what you offered you're going to do. You got to be careful, really think through what it is that you want to do before you dive back in.
Question from Patty. If you were undervalued in your previous position, do you share that? How do you explain why you were making less and feel confident asking for more? Do you have to share what you used to make?
Well, that's an interesting topic. So a lot of states have adopted the fact that they cannot ask any longer what you are currently making or what you were earning. Wisconsin law is a little bit different. You can still ask that question at this point in time. But I think it is something to bring forward. I would steer clear of any negative words like undervalued or unappreciated or difficult boss. I would say, you know what, I want to point out the obvious. The obvious is just had an application come through like this, literally for a manager position. Person indicated he was making $50,000. Now he's interested in earning $70,000. So I scratched my head, ooh, what was happening there? He should come right in and say, I'm going to point out the obvious. This is what I was making. This is why I believe I'm valued at $70,000. And it's, I know that I'll work towards the bonuses or the experiences that I have, or I'm going to be using a different skill set at this organization compared to the other one. So I would state the obvious, but avoid those negative words, because the last thing in HR professionals, if someone comes in and go, well, are they going to feel undervalued here if they're freely talking about their company that way? There are ways of saying things just to go, it wasn't a great fit. We just had a different thought process on certain things. That's why I moved on. But that is how you would bring it forward.
And some of those online applications ask you to put in what you used to make at other positions. And maybe it's the Boy Scout in me, but you should be honest with what you made at the other positions, even though you might be asking for more. Just be ready to demonstrate why you're worth more based on what that position pays or what experience you had, but keep it positive. Am I hearing you correct?
Absolutely. Do not ever be tempted to falsify anything with your background, whether it be salary, how long you worked in an organization, even if you were let go, because we will find out. There are a lot of HR people like me to go, I know companies can't oftentimes provide that information, but I can find ways of getting details and information. And if I find out that someone falsified their application, needless to say, they wouldn't be hired, or if they were hired, I have let people go because they have falsified an application and we found it out later.
Question from Navi. Is it a bonus from the company's perspective if they don't need to offer you health insurance? Maybe you have health insurance from a spouse. Does that put you in a better negotiating position?
It depends on the organization. Every organization has different plans where if you don't take their benefits, accept the benefits, they will pay cash for that. It's usually not dollar for dollar equivalent. Most organizations, though, do not have programs in place like that to say, it's not something you're taking advantage of, that's fine, but we're not going to offer you a bonus in lieu of it. However, you don't know if you don't ask. So always ask the questions. The answer is always no if you don't ask the question.
That's a great phrase. The answer is always no if you don't ask. And I think the vibe that's coming from the chat and what's in my gut as well is, yeah, but I need the job. I want the job. I don't want to push the opportunity away. Is it fair to say if we get to the negotiation stage, they want you almost as much as you want them? Like you can really have a grown-up conversation. That's okay, right?
Absolutely. Again, it's about having the conversation, establishing that relationship, which you've probably done through the course of the interview process because you're being extended an offer. It continues. I'm appreciative of the offer. Here's what I'm thinking. What can you do? But at some point, you got to know when is when. Enough is enough. Are you getting to the point of just being greedy? Like, okay, they're going to keep throwing this. What am I hearing in their voice inflection? Is the person like, okay, I'll follow up and ask. Now you've frustrated that person. So
Yeah.
you've got to be really in tune with what's happening. Obviously, most offers are coming over the phone, maybe a little bit over Zoom. So really listen for some of those cues to go, when is when, enough is enough, and then close the deal. I'm so excited. This is great. I'm so happy to accept your offer.
So we're running a little over time, but the questions are really good here. So let's play lightning round a little bit. Kelly
Okay.
asks how to answer when they press. Let me ask again. Kelly wants to know. Uh, where's the question? I'm sorry. Ann wants to know, coming off of unemployment, how to handle negotiations when they know you need a job.
It really goes back to everything that it is that we've just talked about. You've done your research, you know your value, you talk through those things. Don't ever, here's the other thing I didn't mention. I know we said lightning round. Do your research on the company. And why do I say that? Find one great thing that you like about that organization. You don't go into the interview to go, I just need a paycheck. Please hire me. Forget it. You know what? I don't want somebody who just wants a paycheck. I want you to want to work here. So you talk about those things, and you've already then won them over just by the fact that you know a little bit about the organization.
Yeah, that really goes a long way, right? If you've done your research on the hiring manager and the company that you're talking to, it shows that you're invested and you care. Does that score points with you?
110% it does. And it doesn't, you don't have to memorize the annual plan and talk about the financials. I love the fact that Bank 59 gives back to the communities. I love your mission statement, make lives better. One thing that you can use in the rationale that you have of why you want to work there, and then they in turn will say, we want someone who's going to be committed and dedicated to us.
So the question from Ann that I was butchering, from Kelly that I was butchering. Kelly was just asking if they are pressing you on your last salary. How do you politically avoid or evade the question? Because you don't really have to tell them if they're asking, what did you make at the last job? How do you handle that?
Well, here it's a double-edged sword. You can say, I really don't need to offer that to you, and they're going to say, okay, and then they're going to move on to the next candidate. Like you're trying to hide something. There's something you're not willing to share. I would absolutely offer what it was that I was earning, and again, you're just being very direct. You're saying, I was earning $15 an hour at my last position. I'm seeking $18 because I know in the marketplace, this is what being paid. These are the experiences and skill sets that I contribute. I'm not just going to be someone just starting out. I can jump in running and be able to really do a great thing with this job.
So hopefully this is getting value for you as you get ready to claim your next position. We're running out of time with Ann. If you have a question that we haven't answered yet, get it in the chat and we'll answer it before we let her go. Leah asked a question. How do you negotiate your value when you're changing career fields? Because many of the folks watching the show are getting computer training and are doing either a new job or a new field. So how do you negotiate when you're new to the field?
Transferable skill set is what you want to focus on. So maybe you're new to working with systems and programming, but you're not new to working in a team environment. You're not new to customer service. You're not new to having critical thinking skills and problem solving. So focus on the transferable skill sets that makes you in a position to be stronger in terms of what your salary should be.
Okay. Great answer. Thank you for that. And one more question from Leah, and this is very timely. I'm just going to read it verbatim. What about when you're getting rehired and you know that they are struggling and money is tight, but you still need to pay the rent? And she shares that I'm in the arts and negotiation is always a struggle in the arts. So any feedback for Leah on that?
100%. Leah, it really goes back to the fact is no one's going to think about you the way that you think of you. Whatever organization or nonprofit that you might be applying to, they're thinking about themselves as well. So you got to get past the fact, I feel bad. I shouldn't be doing this. They're smart business people. They know what they can and what they can't do. If they can't do it, they're going to tell you. But again, if you don't ask the question, and you've got to make ends meet. There's that certain threshold that we all have to say, if I don't earn $18 an hour, I'm not going to be able to pay my rent, you need to look for another job. Because don't try to force it or have them say, well, if things get better in a year, maybe we can revisit this. Not good enough. Absolutely not good enough. And Pat, I'm sorry, one more quick thing I do want to share in terms of negotiations. Maybe if you get to the point where they're not quite offering what you were hoping for, but they do throw in a bonus, you can always ask to say, can I have a performance evaluation with an associated merit increase in 3 months or in 6 months based on my overall performance? If they say yes, anything that they offer to you, get it in writing. Always get it in writing from them, because then hopefully someone will be honest to their word. But I've seen managers leave that have made promises and that person's like, but he promised me this and we don't have anything in writing. So make sure to get it in writing.
That's a great tip. Always get it in writing. It doesn't exist unless it's written down. That's really good stuff. All right, 2 more quick questions here. Tia wants to know, several applications ask you to approve a credit check. Because I've been unemployed for over a year, my credit is not good. Any thoughts for Tia?
Oh, Tia, that's a tough one. It depends on the organization and position you're applying for. In banking, when you're in cash handling, credit history is really important to us. But there are different threshold levels as well. Find out, know right up front what your credit score is. And if you know it, tell the HR person that, because again, they're going to uncover that through the credit check. And most organizations, if they ask for it, they will not hire you without knowing what that is. However, if you have plans in place already in motion to be improving your credit, to say, maybe you're at 580 and you're trying to get to 600, to say, I just paid off 2 more bills, I would expect that credit score is going to be increasing. I've talked to a financial planner, showing that you're making some changes in your lifestyle and your spending habits to be able to improve your credit could go a really long way.
Any final thoughts for someone that's in a job-seeking position right now? Because the market is good if you're looking for a job, isn't it?
The market is amazing. And quite honestly, when we talk about the home market, if you're a seller, it's a seller's market right now. And I would say it's a job hunter's market right now. It's the employee market where we need people. When you look at all the help wanted signs and things of that nature, you are in the driver's seat. So you do the research, be reasonable, but also ask for what it is that you need and a little then some. Always go just a little bit above, because people are going to expect to negotiate, and you're going to find yourself in a really good position. And again, if you don't ask, the answer is always no.
So get it in writing, be truthful always. And I think summarizing it all, to me, what I hear you're saying is, advocate for yourself and negotiate, but always do it in a way that you're the employee they want to be around. Like if you negotiate like a jerk, they're not going to hire you because they don't want to employ a jerk, right?
Yeah, are you sure you didn't work in HR in a past life? You're absolutely right. You're a quick study.
Thank you. Well, it's a great conversation today. Ann Knutson, HR Director and Senior VP of Bank 59 in Oconomowoc, Wisconsin. Thank you so much for coming on today.
It was a real pleasure. Good luck to all of you.
Well, they are really ready to capture their next opportunity. And I hope you enjoyed the conversation with Ann, because she's just great to talk to. And we could have talked for seriously 2 more hours about how to get more money out of your next negotiation. And this show is all about helping you on your journey to your next great big gig. So if you're looking to improve your chances to land a great job next, make sure you check out newhorizonswi.com and chat with our training staff. They are standing by. And they're there to match you with the training you need to land a terrific new opportunity. That's newhorizonswi.com. Also, thanks to our sponsors, Forward Careers. Now, we do the show once a month. So the next episode of the interview will be on July 6th at 10 a.m. We'll learn networking and how to become a better networker so we can improve the number of people that know, like, and trust us with Lori Rifkin from the program Lunch with Lori. So what you need to know to get to the people that you need to know so you can get a great job in your next position. Thanks again to Ann. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Pat Miller, the Idea Coach. Thanks for joining us on this episode of the interview.